You're watching BionicDance. Don't run on automatic, instead, please think.
Now, one of the beauties of the creation, and for me, one of the greatest proofs of the existence of God, is that if you do not believe in God, you will live in a world that is godless.
If anything, that's backward. But it's not even that. If you live in a world that's godless, then you'll live in a world that's godless, no matter what you may believe to the contrary. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Today we've got ourselves a fellow who wants to prove God exists using atheists' own arguments against us as proof. But as I'll show, his reasoning is not particularly sound at all.
If you believe in God, you will live in a world filled with God. But if you disbelieve in God, you will constantly be reaffirmed in your disbelief.
Thing is, a significant portion of atheists, especially the explicitly self-identified atheists, are critical thinkers. If there was evidence for God's existence in any empirical sense, our position would change on the matter. I'm not saying we'd worship God. Most of the descriptions in various scriptures make deities sound like complete dicks. But I'd at least admit his, her, or their existence. I might go looking for the flaming sword or magic ring that could kill the fucker, but I'd still believe. So to say that atheists would simply have our position reaffirmed to us just as a result of holding it shows a lack of understanding of our mindset. Indeed, it sounds like projection, as if our reason for our stance is the same as the reasoning used by theists.
Allah is in the understanding of the believer. So if you believe Allah is with you, Allah is with you. If you don't believe He's with you, He's not with you. And that's why despair is haram in every Abrahamic tradition. It's haram. And in Catholicism, it's the unpardonable sin.
I'm sure this concept sounds great to a believer, but do you know what it sounds like to those who don't believe? It sounds like wishful thinking coupled with a carrot or stick threat. If you believe your God is with you, then your God is with you, but in what form? Real or imagined? And which God? Or is it even necessarily a God? If I believed my dead grandparents are with me, are they? How can we know they're not just my own mental creation? But then comes the threat, where not believing is an unforgivable sin. Since the existence of a God cannot be shown to be true, must be believed purely on faith, it's really easy to dismiss the entire notion, unless we're scared into belief using threats of eternal torment if we don't do it. So no matter how it sounds to you theists, it sounds like a con job to many of us who aren't already on your side.
So where's the problem? The problem is in what they call evil. And this is ultimately what every argument against the existence of God rests upon. It rests upon what they call the problem of evil.
No. That's only one of many arguments against God's existence. In fact, the vast majority of atheist arguments stem from a lack of evidence for theist claims. And that really is what it comes down to. Believers, or at least their dogma, will make various assertions, and those assertions do not hold up against critical scrutiny. But okay, let's talk about the problem of evil and the problems with it. The Abrahamic traditions claim that their God is all-knowing, all-loving, and all-powerful, which means that if there is suffering anywhere in the world, God would know about it, would care to stop it, and has the power to do so. And yet, there is plenty of suffering in the world that doesn't get stopped, thus making that claim about God suspect at best, completely false at most. But if you were to say that God isn't perfect, that He can fuck up from time to time, that He doesn't always care, that His power is limited, that He doesn't know everything, the problem of evil goes away. See, you've made your God too powerful in a way that does not match the reality, and that's why your claims are easily debunked.
And that is why, if somebody tells you they don't believe in God, what you should ask them to do is explain to me what your definition of God is, because we might not believe in that same thing.
Maybe, maybe not. This is why I specified dogma earlier. Scripture is the only solid reference material to which I have access. But it's also the fact of wildly differing beliefs among people that makes the existence of gods, especially those omniperfect gods, seem awfully sketchy. How do you know you picked the right one to believe in, and why should anybody agree with you?
One of the things that they've done is that they're trapped in a Christian Manichaean worldview, which is where good and evil are separate entities. Whereas we believe good and evil are both creations of Allah. See, the Christians can't explain evil because they say God is all good and God is all powerful. Well, if God's all good and all powerful, how do we explain evil in the world? Because if He's all good, He wouldn't create evil. And if He's all powerful, He would remove it from the world. This is what they call the problem of evil in philosophy.
Okay, to be fair, upon admittedly cursory research, basically the first 2 or 3 pages of Google searching, I'm having no luck finding a Quran-specific verse that asserts God's omnibenevolence. I find passages claiming He's all-merciful, which largely indicates forgiveness rather than superhero work against bad guys and natural disasters. But the Quran is also basically a sequel to the Old and New Testaments, which do claim omnibenevolence. So unless they've reimagined God when they made Him into Allah, I think the problem of evil stands.
We had scholars that looked at tribulations and said, never think something is evil, because you don't know.
It's long been my position that good and evil don't exist as most people think of them, and that they're very malleable concepts. What really exists is the intersection of harmful and beneficial on one axis, with or without permission on the other. And that intersection is centered in different places not only for individuals, but also for individual concepts and actions. Unfortunately, the world is not the place of consistency and absolutes that would give most of us the feeling of comfort and security we greatly desire. So no, we don't know, but that doesn't change the fact that Scripture and dogma both make claims about what is or is not okay, virtues and sins, giving us at least a baseline from which to start examining good and evil from a religious perspective.
If we didn't have a shared understanding of justice, we couldn't communicate. But every non-Muslim who's got any brains at all will agree with us on many basic points.
Which really ought to imply that the source of this agreement isn't your religion or any other. It ought to suggest that the permission and effect scale I mentioned earlier is the true basis for our sense of justice, and the fact that there's overlap among many different cultures, God or no God, your God or someone else's, bears this out. Naturally, we're going to get theists from various traditions saying that this sense of justice still comes from their God, even though we don't realize it. But is a God really required? When you think about it, justice isn't merely a social construct, it's really a survival instinct. Without it, we'd destroy each other. And the desire to live and perpetuate one's kind is hardly a God-required trait.
And this is how it's capable for Muslims and non-Muslims to live together based on these shared things. There are other things where we disagree, and then the Sharia has ways of dealing with that. In a Muslim society even, non-Muslims are allowed to do things that Muslims aren't allowed to do.
And if that were true, we'd have a lot less to discuss. Like I've said before, many times, when religions learn to share and play nicely with the other kids, I'll stop arguing with you. I'll still think your supernatural claims are awfully silly, but it'll be live and let live. As long as religion, any religion, treats outsiders as the enemy, and don't kid yourself, many, if not most of them do, we've got ourselves a problem. It's why I make these videos in the first place. So, if you mean it, if you say your religion really does give you ways to live in peace with others, then start telling the other people who claim to be of the same beliefs to stop giving you and religion a bad name. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
Should have rated unsubscribed. Oh.